I think he's still communicating to the old style of politics, because even when you think about how he has moved from his current home to his home Wamunyoro, and even when he meets with political leaders, it's normally outside near a mugumo tree. You can see that he's trying to bring back this essence of tradition and custom, and to bring this idea back of kingpins and who determine who's going to lead tribes. And I think that we're in such an interesting dispensation as a country. I believe there's a lot of opportunity for new politics. And the only ones that I'm seeing playing this card or working on seeing whether Kenya is ready for it are CJ Maraga and Okia Mtata. Every time we talk about Gen Z, hata hawajui wenye wanafanya, wako tu kila mahali. But you can see young people doing things, but you don't want to recognize that they exist, so that you appear as though you're the only alternative for this country, which is false. It's a lie. There are so many other young people who are ready to take up the leadership mantle. And I've not even talked about the groups like Kinaokayo. There are some that I don't even agree with, but they are there. So to act like they are non-existent is not fair. It must be so hard to be Sifuna right now, because you can really see the conflict. It is difficult to one day you're on national TV talking about, you're very firm that government is going in the wrong direction. The next few days you're over there in a presser. It could not be me. It could not be me. I would have probably
we are gonna be faithful in this marriage until the end.
Hey, that's tough. So I do not even envy Sifuna right now. So what's going to happen? There's going to be a cluster if they haven't already started.
But come on, Nerima, you've given up on him too early.
They are going to kick him out. They are going to try their best to kick him out. Yeah.
Tired of the same old shopping experience? Step into a smarter way to shop with Whiteson Group, Kenya's go-to online store for quality you can trust. From gadgets and homeware to everyday essentials, we deliver convenience right to your door. Fast shopping, secure payments, and top-notch customer care, all in one place. Visit whitesongroup.com today. Whiteson Group, simple, reliable, delivered.
Great to have you on Richard Mwenja exclusive. It's a new month, August. We continue bringing home conversations that are defining Kenya's political and governance landscape. I'm happy because today someone has made a comeback on the show. She's none other than the executive director, Siasa Place, Madam Nerima Wako, a woman of many fasts. She's gonna tell us more about that in a few. But Nerima, great to see you.
Good to see you too.
2 weeks without you on the show.
I know. I don't even know how that happened.
Nowadays, you've been so unfaithful with this program.
Hey, it's been busy. It's been hectic a bit. It's hectic. And then also a little unwell, but we are here.
We thank God. While you were away, so much happened, especially good things. I'm now talking to Commissioner, People Restorative Justice Commission. That's a new thing, Nerima, and a good thing for it. Are you excited about the new opportunity?
I am excited, especially excited about what we're building. It's about people's justice. We are witnessing a delay of justice, which is injustice to anyone, anywhere, especially when you're looking at the number of young people that have died from last year to this year due to police brutality. And we're seeing things just dragging in the court systems. And so having a commission that stands on truth and pushing for accountability, I think is going to be ideal going forward. Yeah.
Your hands seem to be full though. How do you juggle all this? Come on.
It's tough. It's tough, and I have to be organized. I'm constantly, you've seen my calendar sometimes.
I know.
Sometimes it's just filled with things. Like if I don't keep time on some things, I will lose track. But also I manage to do this because I have an amazing team. And then I really, really try and put some time aside for family, which has to be either early morning or in the evening. So you will hardly see me out and about late at night. That's what helps. Yeah.
But over and above ni God manze.
Ni God.
Ni God.
Yes.
Na ujanja kidogo hii town.
No.
Just God.
Yeah, it's God, honestly. Yeah.
Fantastic, Nerima, and congratulations on that
Thank
particular
you.
appointment. Let's start off our conversation, of course, with matters to do with the politics of the day. And Senator for Nandi, Samson Cherargei, a few days ago, just came forth and argued that it is a new thing for Kenya because we're witnessing a president who, for the first time, is taking equity when it comes to development across the region. And that's the issue that people are taking concern with President Ruto's presidency. Nerima, does this mean that predecessors of William Ruto have always been about favoring this community against the others? Perhaps why we are seeing this increased, call out of Ruto's government?
You know, the whole implementation of the constitution is to devolve. So that means development is to go across this nation. So even when we want to talk about access to allocation of funds, you know, we are talking about even the ASAL regions. There are regions in our country where they don't even consider themselves Kenyan just because of not being able to receive the resources that they deserve. So even people sometimes still call them the northern frontier. Those are Kenyan citizens. And even you'll hear some sayings in the coast, Pwani si Kenya. So these are the divisions we're talking about, not the usual tribes we're used to talking about. They are actual marginalized communities in our country, and the difference, the disparity is clear. So even when we talk about the constitution, the reason why we have it was to move away from the federal system, to move away from when Moi used to favor particular communities. That's when you see development. Unfortunately, when we see a gallivanting president where everywhere he touches is where money flows, we are going back to federal system, not the constitution of devolution. And this is a worry for me because the whole idea of having counties is for them to have their own revenue allocation. Some need more help than others, and that's why you'll have, you know, federal government deciding a percentage of allocation to go to the other counties. That's why that system exists. But eventually, we want counties to be able to collect their own revenue, have their own budgets, have their own sustainability, so that it doesn't matter who sits at the presidency. Because the president is to care for each and every single Kenyan just because they are Kenyan. Because you're president, you represent the symbol of unity. So it doesn't matter where he goes across this country. Every single county should be able to receive revenue, whether you like him or not. That is your right as a Kenyan citizen. So to hear senators speak in that manner is backward. It is completely backward. It means that you're going against what the Constitution stands for. It shouldn't matter what my last name is. It shouldn't matter where I was born. Just because I have an ID, I should have access to services because of the tax that I pay. So I don't need a president to come to my community and validate my existence. We don't need that.
The Deputy President Kithure Kindiki and President's AD Farouk Kibet have over the last few months been spearheading what they call empowerment programs across the nation. We are talking about there being equity in development across the region. Does now these empowerment programs they're spearheading speak into the issue and the spirit of bringing development to everyone regardless of where they voted for or they voted against?
It doesn't, because, you know, here they are talking about empowerment programs, and then in the same newspapers we're seeing how education, they're struggling with funding education. Health, they're struggling with funding health. E-citizen, there's 44 billion missing. It did get to the treasury. So it's a double speak. So even the people in the audience that we're seeing for these empowerment programs, normally there should be a structure that is facilitated by cooperatives, where you have these groups, these circles, these chamas, where when you give this resource, is it a grant, is it a loan? And then when you're giving them, how are we seeing whether it's sustainable and bringing about impact? We're not seeing that. So when you're seeing people complaining of receiving 64 shillings, what are you going to do with the 60 bob in this day and age? Even that one packet of milk, utaweza kununua. Alafu utafanya nini nayo?
But they're also being given posho meals.
Posho meals?
Motorcycles.
To start a border business. Okay.
Isn't that sustainable?
I don't think it is. Personally, I don't. Because what you need to do is give people an activity that requires the land, agriculture. When we have a country that has 80% arable farming land, why are we not looking at things that, we encourage young people to even enter farming? Even when you're talking about sustainability, there are countries that have used irrigation to be able to sustain themselves. We have all the natural resources. So we're talking about giving people equipment, and it's people who don't even have title deeds. Where are they going to plant? What are they doing with those posho mills? Most of these people you're talking to, they don't own land, especially young people. So there's a complete disconnect. If you want to teach someone how to feed themselves, you teach them how to fish. Because even with this challenge of bodas, they'll have to maintain the fuel. They will have to maintain the boda itself. That means servicing. And that's not the only job that's available. And you need people to feed you. So even if you're earning money, who are you going to pay to give you food? Who are you going to pay to give you food? So we talk about food security, but we're not doing enough. We've seen what they've done with rice and how farmers are now afraid what's going to happen. It just seems backwards. Where they should be focusing, they're not focusing.
Where they should be focusing, they're not focusing.
They're not focusing.
Then it speaks to the issue of, do you think the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto in the first place was built around deceit, in the sense that all those campaign manifestos, the agendas therein, they knew very well these are not viable, they are not even feasible in the first place, but still they sold the agenda just so to get the vote. Was Kenya Kwanza government built around deceit in the first place?
I believe Kenya Kwanza had a grand scheme of ideas. They made very large promises, including, God knows, putting how many stadiums where, dams where, Hustler Fund, where we've seen people are not even able to pay back the loans that they've received. We've just seen losses upon losses. The challenge with the policies that they have is there were no pilot initiatives to scale up. So you say, this worked in this community, let's scale up, let's scale up. So rather than starting small, which is interesting because they talk about bottom up, rather than starting small and seeing it grow, they just started grand and now they are seeing it collapse. That's what we're witnessing with Kenya Kwanza. I think they had grand ideas. However, when they talked about or thought through the scalability of these ideas, we're beginning to see gridlock. So even you see it with the housing, where they're like, we need housing, granted, we need housing. Let's put a lot of housing everywhere. And then now they're figuring out, okay, was it a lottery? Is it a tax? What is it? How do people have access to this housing? What does it look like? They start to build the plan backwards. That's the challenge that we have with Kenya Kwanza.
We have witnessed the government come up with an initiative whereby it targets at least 200,000 youths to be tapped into Climate Works program. Of course, they're going to benefit at least 6,000 Kenya shilling stipend every month. And some would wonder, Nerima Wako, are we seeing just a change of names from Kazi Mtaani to now this Climate Works program? And in the first place, do you think this is the silver bullet to address unemployment among the Kenyan youths?
It's not the silver bullet. And we go back to it where I know some of the people who are behind the drafting of Kazi Mtaani. And it's almost a combination of NYS. This servitude, this duty of after you finish with your education, you are able to serve the country for 1 year. So not a militarization of service, but just a community sort of service. While you're doing this work, you're keeping your environment clean, you're also earning resources while you do this. That's the structure of it. What we've seen is that it's been politicized to be utilized as a tool where when young people are frustrated, you bring in an opportunity like climate works. And you're like, haya, nendeni, go and clean this river, we'll give you 500 bob per day. It's a very short-term sort of thinking. It's not necessarily a way to sustain a dominantly young population. Because even when you talk about the environment, there are people out here in this world who are creating fuel out of plastic. There are young people in our country who are even utilizing old slippers or tires and recycling them and building. We can continue to invest in such avenues and things like that. But that's not what we're seeing. So what the worry for me is, and I say this repeatedly, this administration doesn't realize that the ticking time bomb blew up. It blew up, it blew up. It blew up last year. Just the witnessing of the protest is an indicator of the blow up. Number two, the number of people who came out June 25th this year, just that mushrooming in the several counties is another indicator of joblessness. Just how many people can just show up in magnitudes. Show up in magnitudes because they're saying there's something wrong in our country. Shows you that that time bomb blew up. When you see P.S. Omolo being chased into his car by thousands of young people is an indicator that this time bomb blew up. What we are witnessing is a crisis, an unemployment crisis. And government should have a long time ago declared it a national emergency. National. In fact, they should have even slashed members of parliament salaries. So even when we're seeing there's no budget for education, we're seeing a minimized budget for health, the one thing that remains constant is travel. The other thing that remains constant, MP's salary. If not, it's actually increased. The other thing we're seeing is parastatals. They should have just slashed those things and said, we are not in a normal situation as a country. It's in dire need of resource. We must recalibrate. But what we're seeing, 12 billion has gone to State House.
Allies to the President Herman Manyora have oftentimes argued that unemployment, it's a continental problem. It's an African problem, not a Kenyan problem in the first place. It's not a Kenyan crisis. And you do not expect President Ruto to do miracles overnight. This is a burden he has inherited after he got into power. So then again, do you think the president, when he asks for us to grant him the grace of time, he's justified to request that?
I don't think he is, because he doesn't have the luxury of time. When you're, I studied emergency management, and one of the first things they tell you, or they advise you, as soon as an emergency occurs, you take the shortest time possible to make critical decisions. It's like if you're involved in an accident and someone, maybe their hand is gushing blood. You're not going to think there and say, give me time to figure out what to do. Yeah. Give me time to think how to help you. The first thing you do is stop the blood.
You don't need dialogue?
You don't. We don't need dialogue. You need to stop that blood. And you stop it as quickly as possible with the equipment around you, and you tie it and you make sure blood stops. After blood stops, you now start thinking, haya, kuna hospitali wapi? How do I get you to the nearest hospital? That's phase 2. So right now, when our president says, give me more time, he's talking as though he has stopped the blood. We're still gushing. We're gushing a lot of blood, okay? And he's here like, where is the hospital? Give me time to figure out. We are going to die.
Where is the Red Cross?
We are going to die while blood is gushing out here. He needs to stop the blood. So the first thing, you have no time. You stop that blood first. We are gushing. And then once you stop that blood, we can now give you time because we have a little room, wiggle room, for you to make decisions. That wiggle room, he has wasted it. Yeah.
In a bid to stop this blood that is gushing from his hand, you just seen the president on Wednesday sign into law the Conflicts of Interest Bill of 2023. Of course, now this is going to bar civil servants from doing business with government. And we also saw Bishop David Oginde deliver a powerful prayer against corrupt officials. From where you sit, Herman Manyora, are we seeing now a step towards our fight against graft? And what do you actually make of the prayer itself from the bishop?
First of all, if I was in that room when Bishop was saying that prayer, you would hear me say, Amen, to God's ears.
Hapo kwa Ananias
In
and Sapphira.
solidarity. Shalom. I would be repeating with him. That room was too silent because he was speaking truth. And it was so uncomfortable, and I loved to see it.
The unease was palpable?
Yeah, the unease was palpable. Because even when you're talking about, first of all, let's talk about this conflict of interest that he signed. You notice that that day, it's the bishop who made the news. It wasn't the prayer, it was the prayer. It wasn't really what's contained within that bill that was assented. And this is important because also you recognize that day, and there are a few people who've mentioned this on social media. It's also the same day where we saw Nakada talking about alcohol. So everyone was jumping on that conversation on alcohol. And it was just a few hours after this bill. So that's where Kenyans, we lost focus, by the way.
Nakada took the day.
Nakada took the day and distracted us. And then came back to say, oh no, this is just, we haven't gone through the processes. They're just policy proposals. But we had wasted a whole day talking about that rather than what's in that conflict of interest. And in that conflict of interest, let me tell you, if we were following the law, half of the people in that room would not be in that room.
Where would they be?
They would have already been removed because they have violated the Constitution and the law. There are too many people, because it talks about public officials not mingling with state and business. You cannot even have a proxy company doing business with the state. You are not supposed to be able to do business with the state, etc, etc, etc. There are so many people in that room who are, and we know they are. We know the businesses they own, from hotels to resorts, to even things that are built in forests right now, and they are trying to stop these things. So for me, it is the importance of witnessing whether what he signed will actually be utilized, because we will lose our parliament, we will lose our executive, because we know many of them are violating that particular bill. And I would be happy to see Kenyans, because every Kenyan has the right to petition, bringing up some of these cases with evidence and petitioning and practicing their right to speak truth to power. Let's see if they will obey the law.
Nerimo, when you're talking about the fight against graft in Kenya, some would wonder, is it enough to have a bishop at the helm of EACC, or the goodwill to fight corruption has to start from the highest office in the land?
It has to start from the highest office, because fish starts rotting from the head. So if the head is not following the rule of law, nobody else will. Why would they?
However much the prayers we say against corruption?
However much the prayers. If the head is not fighting corruption, no one else will.
Because we've made corruption the epicenter of our prayers when talking about the National Prayer Breakfast. Now we've seen Bishop Oginde with it. Would you say accountability is the solution in the first place? Less conversation about corruption, let's do the action.
Yeah, the action. Because even, remember, I told you the National Prayer Breakfast this year, I couldn't go. I didn't go.
You are invited?
We talked about this.
Oh, yeah.
I was invited. I couldn't. I just was wondering, how am I sitting here? And I felt like I'm in covenant. Like I am agreeing. And I disagree. The same way, the bishop who received a nice car, if I was a member of that church, I would have left it. That Sunday I saw him receive that car.
You dare question the generosity of the president?
I would have left it. I would have left that church. I would have. In fact, churches that are receiving corruption money shouldn't have members. It shouldn't. Members should just be like, enough is enough. And shame on you for using religious institutions and the pulpit. I know you're laughing. Me, if I was in Jesus' time, I would have been with Jesus whipping people in the church when it turned into a market. I would be a mad woman, just throwing tables everywhere because it's a disgrace to the church.
A disgrace to the church?
Yeah, I would not be a member of that church. So I am a person of action. I pray, yes, but you'll also see me acting. As soon as people start spewing hate, blood money we can't account for in the church, you will not find me in that church. I would rather walk out on you as you speak or as you contribute this money. We must turn our backs. We must give public shame to these people in these spaces. If we don't, then we condone, we support, we are part of them.
Well put, Nerima. Now let's shift gears a bit and now go full throttle on the politics of the day. And how about we start from the side of the People's Loyal Opposition, which of course is composed of people like Rigathi, Gachagua, Kalonzo, Musyoka, you name them. And beginning with DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua, he's still in the US. And there's something interesting. On one of his state tours, we saw one of the Gen Z put him on the spot over what she termed as you just being nothing but a signpost of tribal politics, much as you want to oust President Ruto in 2027. For Rigathi Gachagua, who this first presented himself as the custodian of Mount Kenya, and he has his rights to do so from his own optics, do you think he's overshooting the runway by taking that tribal card a bit further?
I think he's still communicating to the old style of politics, because even when you think about how he has moved from his current home to his home Manyora, and even when he meets with political leaders, it's normally outside near a mugumo tree. You can see that he's trying to bring back this essence of tradition and custom, and to bring this idea back of kingpins and who determine who's going to lead tribes. And I think that we're in such an interesting dispensation as a country. I believe there's a lot of opportunity for new politics. And the only ones that I'm seeing playing this card or working on seeing whether Kenya is ready for it are CJ Maraga and Okia Mtata. And the reason I say this is one of the first things that a lot of these guys do when they want to declare their presidential bid or whether they're interested in leadership is to go to their communities. Matiang'i did that. So he had this whole Kisii tour. They do that. They'll go to Western and
Mulembe Nation tour.
Yeah, they'll do that. That is the traditional way of thinking about politics. CJ Maraga didn't go to Kisii first. He didn't. Okia Mtata didn't go to Busia first. He didn't go to Western first. He didn't. So what I'm seeing is that lady who spoke to that, to Gachagua, is someone who is saying, I want a different style of politics. And there are other people on this end who are running for that swing, that voter. And people will often tell me, Nerima, politics is local. It's rural.
Grassroots politics.
Grassroots kabisa. Hao watu wenye unasema ni Gen Z, hakuna watu kao. They're all tribal. And I want to...
It's a facade.
Yeah, it's a facade. At the end of the day, we vote according to tribe. A part of me believes it, and then sometimes I don't. Because when I look at the numbers, right? In the last election, we had quite a number of people who didn't vote, right? So there's this group of people who got voters' cards, 8 million. They got voters' cards, but they just didn't go and vote. They just didn't wake up that day and go to vote, but they had voters' cards. Then we had another close to 8 million that did not even get a voter's card.
In the first place.
In the first place. My assumption, I could be wrong, but my assumption, that 8 million that didn't even get a voter's card at a register are youth. That 8 million. This 8 million that had voters' cards but didn't vote is a combination of now Gen Zs, millennials, and then people who are like middle class. They're just like, hata sioni mtu.
Yeah.
Hata kuna mtu ananimotivate. They're just like, they have it. But they're just like, I don't see anyone.
There's no alternative.
Yeah, alternative to encourage me, to inspire me to come out and vote. These are the people who voted now for Rao and Ruto. Those are the rural. Those are the ones who are like, tokeni.
Twende tupigie mtu wetu.
Twende tupigie mtu wetu. These ones, they voted. So, for me, my math, I'm not so worried about these ones. Because they are going to go with their tribal blocks and whoever coordinates them to come vote. But there's another 16 million, 15 million here that they feel like no one is talking to us. And we don't understand this tribal. This 15 million, I think, is such a large number, they will surprise us. Especially if they find someone who inspires them to go vote. So, in a sense, I agree that a lot of our politics is this. But we're in a place where our politics has shifted. And I say this because, and we've talked about this here quite a number of times, this group, it needs a lot of convincing. Normally, Ra would say, conclave, tuko sawa, twende. Which direction? This group is like, sasa conclave, dialogue, hatutaki dialogue. But all of you, you're the same. What difference? It's like you're working harder to convince this group that has been out of it, but they're seeing, if we don't do something, we're in trouble. And these people are now seeing their businesses are struggling. To take kids to school is expensive. I can't afford books. Hata CBC sielewi. I mean, we're changing uniforms left, right, and center. Health, I'm not affording. Nalipa SHA, lakini sioni ikinisaidia. This group that's used to being a bit comfortable and removed is now being forced to be political. And they are going to change this side. Yeah.
When you see Rigathi Gachagua blame the Gen Z in the sense that those who at some point post themselves as Gen Z leaders have been easily compromised there after, I'm talking about Kasmuel Makoure and Morara Kebaso, he cited those two. And now his worry is that much as we want to work with the Gen Z, we are afraid that they could also be traitors in the temple. We embrace them to DCP or our coalition, but midway, they go to other agents who are opposing us. Do you think the Gen Z indeed have failed in a sense that they are yet to decide whether they want to onboard the Gachagua way or Ruto way, because they are still so undecided?
I'm going to say they don't care about Gen Z. You know, it's very simple. The two youth leaders from DCP who were arrested and rearrested. If Gachagua cared so much about them, where was he? Where was he? So you can't be talking about if we embrace Gen Zs, they will betray us. You're betraying them right in front of our eyes.
They are easily compromised by our competitors.
When they're in trouble, where are you? You're not even there to stand in solidarity with them. You're not. So it's a double speak. I feel it's just a narrative to dumb down young people's organizing and intelligence. They are able to organize and they are willing to organize. You're just in their way. You become a stumbling block to their organizing because they're telling you they want something different, but you're forcing the same things down their throat. This is the problem. And even the people that have been mentioned, they are not even people that I would say that are solid people.
Really?
They are not. They are not. They are people who are doing their own campaigns out here, like Mabonga, like Shakira. They are doing their own campaigns. You're seeing them going across counties, meeting with people. They are doing town halls. Why are we not meeting with serious youth like that? People who are already proving a track record. They've even started a recall. They have already submitted a petition.
Sure.
These are serious young people. You're seeing them doing something now. They are not waiting for 2027. But then you don't want to recognize them. It's like they're invisible. Every time you talk about Gen Z, hata hawajui wenye wanafanya, wako tu kila mahali. But you can see young people doing things, but you don't want to recognize that they exist, so that you appear as though you're the only alternative for this country, which is false. It's a lie. There are so many other young people who are ready to take up the leadership mantle. And I've not even talked about the groups like Kinaokayo. There are some that I don't even agree with, but they are there. So to act like they are non-existent is not fair.
So when a section of university students, leaders come forward, not even a section, the entire students' leadership body of our public universities come forward and embrace the national dialogue conclave and say this is the way in which the views of the youth can be tapped into and change comes their way. Do you think they are just bidding these Kenyan youth to the highest bid in the first place, or their voice is the voice of the many youths in those universities?
So first we must understand what the Duale Act did to student leadership. So to minimize the powers of student organizing, they changed the way students elect student leadership, student councils. And a lot of them, to be able to even rise to those positions, they are normally supported and fronted by the administration through deans. So let's just get that clear. So by the time you're there, you already have a master. That's number one. So number two, we have always known how our politicians and national politics influence student body leadership. That's why when you talk about certain politicians, they always rose in university elections and leadership. And Babu Owino was one of the final ones to rise from that. And frankly, Duale made this bill because of Babu Owino. Tired of Babu organizing protests and keeping Nairobi at a standstill. He basically had too much power for a student leader, and they said we must curtail and cut down on these powers. So when you see student leaders speaking and supporting the conclave, they have been approached to do so. Their masters have told them to do so. So they have already entered this space from a point of, you cannot bite the hand that feeds you. So I wouldn't pay so much attention to them because even student leadership power has declined. Right now, there are not a lot of students who even engage in those elections. They are not as competitive as they used to be before 2015. Those are things where even when you would witness a Sonu election, it almost felt like a national election because you'd have opposition and government supporting particular candidates. The amount of resource used in those elections, even you would see voter rigging, bribery, you would see even intimidation and threats. It is very similar to national elections. Now, you ask a university student when the elections are, ata ajui. If you ask them, who is standing, who are you, ata ajui. They have minimized that element of, I want to be engaged, I want to be involved in student leadership. I wouldn't be worried about their stand. They don't even have as many followers as the student council and student leadership did in the 2000s. They don't.
Talking about these youths who now probably are going to redefine Kenya's politics, I mean, CJ Emeritus David Maraga's candidature has indeed excited masses, especially among these constituents that we're talking about. But then again, for David Maraga to build this euphoria akin to that of 202 that will sweep across the nation and make this message that this is a call for change, this is the agent of change that you need. What do you think is that element that David Maraga needs to embed in his political image?
I think he's already doing it in terms of having a national approach, not talking tribal. I think he's already doing it when he speaks. It's always about the issues. It's not about insulting each other and calling each other names and insulting different camps. He's already beginning that narrative. And also, when they go to the grassroots, to the communities, people are not being paid to attend those functions. They're actually sitting down and discussing issues. These are town halls, the way town halls are supposed to be. We're not seeing him on top of cars yelling at masses of people, sharing promises. He's actually asking, what are the issues that we need to focus on? What are some of the things we need to work on? These are my ideas. What do you think about them? That's the flip. And even, you know, Okia, before launching his Reke and ID campaign, he also had those listening sessions in the country. He would commute this country with his team. They had listening sessions. That's the difference. The old style of politics is to travel all over the place and you're the one yelling from the podium. And the audience is now, you know, chiming in and either supporting and agreeing with you. Their style of politics is listening to the public. So it's already reversed. And also when people are not being paid to attend these events, it's already reversed. And when you're seeing how he's fundraising through the public, it's already reversed. So I think it's going to be interesting to see as we lead up to 2027 whether Kenya is ready for a different style of politics, because we're seeing people practicing it. Is Kenya going to support them? That's going to be the big question.
Nerimo, shifting gears a bit and now talking about the other side, the opposing side, the other side of the opposition, that is the ODM-led side. And this week we saw official statements being made by the ODM party. And one of the statements they made is that they have reaffirmed their commitment to support Ruto's government up to 2027, as long as they are going to play fidelity to their binding agreement. But then again, let's speak about the issue of Edwin Sifuna, the SG. He seems to be a man at crossroads. Some would argue he's speaking from both ends of his mouth. What do you think is the position of Sifuna regarding the state of the nation in the first place, and also the place of ODM in fighting for democracy and the change Kenyans desire?
He must be struggling. It must be so hard to be Sifuna right now, because you can really see the conflict. It is difficult to one day you're on national TV talking about, you know, you're very firm that government is going in the wrong direction. The next few days you're over there in a presser. It could not be me. It could not be me. I would have probably
we are going to be faithful in this marriage until the end.
Hey, that's tough. So I do not even envy Sifuna right now. So what's going to happen? There's going to be a cluster if they haven't already started.
But come on, Nerima, you've given up on him too early.
They are going to kick him out. They are going to try their best to kick him out. Because and I feel like we've also touched on this. There's a fight. There's going to be a division in ODM. There is a fight of influence and power.
But most believe that Sifuna also is in the inner sanctum of Raila Odinga and enjoys his graces. How do you think that battle is going to weigh out?
No, it's going to be tough, because like someone like James Orengo would be considered an inner circle, right? And at the beginning, James Orengo and Sifuna were on the same page. But we saw how quickly that flipped when Ruto went to Siaya. He changed tune. Haraka sana. And he has remained on that line. By the way, he has been silent. He has been obeying command, and that we can witness. And so that's why I'm saying, when you talk about inner circle, James Orengo is inner circle. Sifuna. Now, when you come to inner circle, it comes with, I'll compare it to having like a medal. James Orengo anavaa gold. Anavaa gold. Because, you know, you've been with someone, even before, maybe even Sifuna was maybe in a diaper.
Through the, come on, of course,
I'm just speaking facts.
Orengo has been with Baba through the trenches.
Through the trenches. Yani, this is someone who knows you through and through, in and out. So, never medal ya goal. Okay? So, Sifuna is also in the inner circle. Lakini yake ni bronze. It is bronze. Let's be honest. Like, if you talk about the time spent together, the kind of challenges they have seen, from jail, outside jail, family, children, passing of children. I mean, there are things that will earn you stripes. Okay? So, Orengo's is gold, Sifuna's is bronze.
Robert
so they are, yako mbali sana hata ako karibu na jikoni. Tumwache hapo nje.
Okay.
So now, if his is bronze, he has he can survive, but it's not looking as strong as gold here.
He's not the champion.
He's not the champion. He can survive, but he's not the champion. That's why I'm telling you, the first thing is to try and convince the gold inner circle that you don't need this guy. There's going to be a conversation around removing Sifuna. If it hasn't already started, it probably has, because he's a pain to the gold wearers. Them, they are one voice. They go with, amekuwa kichwa ngumu kidogo.
Independent mind.
Independence. What is this independence? With your youth, it is foolish. Be wise, be old. Just follow the line.
Respect your elders.
Respect. Tumesema hivi, tunaenda hivi. Bado anakuwa stubborn hapa. So, they will try and remove him. I hope he's protected. I don't know if he will be. Because honestly, ODM is at a crossroads even the country has never seen. We've talked about how handshakes have normally helped. This one doesn't seem to be helping anybody. So I don't know how ODM is going to maneuver. And I don't think it's going to be like a Babu na Mwamba. I honestly think that Sifuna has gained enough respect that, people say, oh, without ODM, he's nothing, he'll lose everything. I think he's dealing with Nairobi, and he's also dealing with a population that can see him as an individual, not necessarily as a party. And I think it would be interesting to test the waters of being outside ODM. We already know Babu is out.
And he's still flying.
And he's flying high. Whether he's in peace. Babu is out. Like, you don't even see him in any ODM functions. You barely see him speaking to ODM. Him is already sorted himself.
Not that he's already writing his political obituary.
No. Him, he feels he's secure. He's targeting higher. He's just like, you know what, TMC will not survive. And remember, at the beginning of the year, we talked about we are witnessing an intergenerational clash where younger members are struggling with the older members. This disconnect that we're seeing in the country, we are going to see in our political parties. If people are not realizing quick enough that the Kenyan population has changed, that Sifuna actually commands a crowd, that he is actually someone that people follow, that people like, and he has some powers to command, they will be shocked. They will be left like a deer in headlights, because this is the shift we're witnessing. If ODM was wise, they would find a way to work with Sifuna. But I doubt it. They're still stuck on the old school of politics. They will be more concerned about keeping ODM together, and they would probably try and kick Sifuna out. They're going to try and kick him out.
Let's circle back a bit, Nerima. And you've talked about people like Shakira Ofula petitioning the recall of some elected leaders. And from their eyes, they believe these are people who fail to represent, and there's need for us to now get them out of those seats. Now we're witnessing sort of a new thing on board, a new culture whereby people are continuously awakened to the reality that we can exercise our power to recall. How do you think this is going to define the future of Kenyan politics, and how do you think the IBC so far has handled the issue with regards to recall?
There was an article where IBC was basically saying it's going to be too difficult to recall. Almost saying it's almost impossible to recall. And they've already started saying that to the press and to the media. This moment is pivotal because after the protests, you come and tell young people, no, use the process. There's ways. If you're unhappy, there are systems in place to channel that anger. You've been told, wait till 2027. And then we've also been told, if you can't wait till 2027 because your representative is not representing you well, there's a recall. So what are young people doing? They're saying, okay, sawa, umetuambia, let's use process. So they are using process. They're using recall. Now, if recall does not work, if no head rolls, if no one is fired because of recall, I will say to sitting political leaders, you're in trouble. You better sacrifice a few of you, even if it's 5, you better sit down and say, who are we sacrificing for recall?
To calm the nerves.
To calm the nerves. If none of you are sacrificed, let me tell you, you will make young people realize this is a lie. You told us, okay, we can't kick you out now. You told us, use process. We're using process. Now you're showing us process doesn't work. Why should we wait? And this is a very scary situation for IBC. Because if IBC cannot process recalls and have a by-election, how are they planning to build the trust of young people? You better have even 5 come out. You do 5 by-elections, young people engage. They're able to, let me register, let me vote, let me participate, let's put someone we want. At least you will mellow down temperatures. If you can't do a by-election, why would these youth wait 2 more years for an election? You've already told them that you're not in control, that you don't have powers. If you can't do a by-election, why would you do a national election? Why would I trust you with presidency? So for me, for the future of this country, there must be recalls. There must be. For the future of this country, there must be by-elections. If we don't have those, my friend, the youth will not be patient to wait till 2027. Because where you're telling them to wait to use the process, the system, to vote, they will tell you, IEBC can't even vote for a county. Why would it? They can't count for a county. Why would I wait for them to count for the country? You're cheating me. You're cheating me.
It makes sense, Nerima. And very finally, we've seen, yes, a huge chunk of the Gen Z constituency warm up to the candidature of David Maraga and Okiya Omtatah with regards to the presidential bid in 2027. And we're talking about Gen Z being a state of mind, not just about the age. So if we were to narrow down and talk about the age aspect, in the event that we see a Gen Z who has those ideals we admire, but also is young, you're talking about 35 and below or thereabout, and talks about the presidential bid maybe before the end of this year, do you think that's going to create a huge divide between now who are going to go the Maraga way and this other side where they feel this is our person within our age, but also lifts our ideas to the fore?
I truly believe that eventually this will be an alternative. United Opposition might think they are, but Kenyans are still yearning for something fresh, something different. Even when we engage with young people, they're like, all of the people in United Opposition are people who have been in politics. Why would we expect something new from them? So I don't think, CJ Maraga, Okiya, they are going to have an alternative, like splinter groups. They're not. They are eventually going to come together, eventually. And even these young people we're talking about. But what I really want to highlight is that there's a crackdown on young people. In the cells, from 25th to 7th, a lot of young people have been picked up and arrested, and quite a number of them falsely accused, and they're in cells. Even when we're talking about this terrorism act, there are more than 70 who are currently being processed under this act. And by the time you even are charged with terrorism, there are only 11 people who have been charged with terrorism since 2012. So you have to have serious evidence to show that this person is a terrorist. So when you start using arrests to intimidate young people, it's quite unfortunate, because even when we look at the ages, and most of them are young men, they're between the age, even some of them minors. We have 14-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 19-year-olds. There's a boy who's in Form 4 who is in cells. Then when he was released, going back to school is hard, because people look at him as, si wewe ulikuwa kamiti. They look at him as a delinquent. So even when we talk about young people, one breath we're seeing people saying, oh, Gen Zs, they're disorganized, but there's a lot of state intimidation and fear on the other end, where they are scaring them and saying, usitoke protest tena, because you will be stuck in these cells again. And I was saying, on average, they're between the age of 18 and 24. Very young men. Very young men, very scared. In fact, even we've seen them, some of them even crying in the cells because they can't afford bail. They're like, when bail is 50,000, many of them orphans.
Yeah.
My grandmother, she cannot even afford 1K. I'm stuck here forever because it's being dragged in the system. So it would be, as much as people are shouting or state is shouting, Gen Zs are confused, they don't know what they're saying, they wouldn't be putting so much intimidation on them if they thought they were that confused. They are afraid of Gen Zs, and they are trying to make Gen Zs afraid of them. But it's creating a lot of animosity on the ground.
Nerima Wako, we've seen the United Opposition, and through one of their principals, Rigathi Gachagua, come forth and say they are piecing together solid, sufficient evidence to take President Ruto to the Hague to be prosecuted for crimes against humanity, all thanks to the suppression of dissenting voices in the most brutal ways possible. For the United Opposition, when it comes to this dream that they are harboring to take Ruto to ICC, do you think they are overshooting the runway in the first place?
I think based on the human rights violations that we have seen before our eyes, from children being killed and still not having anybody accountable to the history of our elections and politics, there are a number of people who should be at ICC. I think we should definitely continue to petition because as a country, we have not done well in terms of justice, especially to victims and families of election violence. That is something that I concur with, even though at the moment it's a political opportunity, but it's something that must be answered. We need to hold people who are responsible accountable. It should not be remembered in our history as something that people were able to get away with. No.
Well, there you have it from Nerima Wako, Executive Director, Siasa Place. She's a woman of many fasts, a jack of many trades, and seemingly a master of them all. We've talked on a lot of issues in the world of politics and governance. But to this end, it remains to be seen whether the government of today and also you as a citizen will tap into nuggets of wisdom from Nerima Wako. Nerima, great to have you back on the program.
Thank you.
We hope you'll be better next time, with regards to your health.
Thank you so much. You too.
All right, do enjoy the rest of your viewing. I'm Richard Mwenja. Until next time, God bless.